It is the second day, at least the second game here at Bishop's. It is the turn of the under-16A boys to take to the Astro turf after we saw an exciting game between the under-14 boys of Bishop's and Paul Roos. It is, like I said, the second game of the day, and if anything to go by from what happened in the under-14 game, then this, the under-16As, certainly something to strap yourself in for and get yourself ready to watch some excellent hockey from us here at Supersport Schools. I am Tariq Ibrahim, and I am joined in the commentary box by Murray Anderson. For those older generation, so you know the name. I'm sure when his voice starts to resonate over your screens and through your speakers, certainly recognize the voice.
Hi Tariq, wonderful to be here today. Sun's come out. We were worried about a cold front coming in. The sun is shining down at the Woodlands Astro here, and it's good to be here. I'm looking forward to seeing this Paul Roos under 16 side. I've heard a lot about them, and Bishops are looking to bounce back from a defeat against Sachs last week, so it's going to be an interesting match. I think this Paul Roos side is full of speed, full of skill, full of physicality, and it's going to be interesting if Bishops can cope with that.
Yeah, it's a tale of two different levels of confidence heading into this game. The Bishop side, like you mentioned, coming back from a defeat at the hands of Sachs, who have got something certainly going, and a Paul Roos side who coming off the back of a 5-0 victory over Paul Gym last week. So they're riding high on confidence, and
plenty of young players in this Bishop side as well. Under 15 players that have been pushed up into the under 16 age group. So it's sort of a war of attrition for them from a physical point of view, from a speed point of view. So it's going to be very interesting. Many of them have missed out on an under 14 year, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy to think that the last time these young men played hockey was at under 13 level. So, you know, as much as it was, you know, something new and different for the under 14s, playing for the high school, representing their school, playing on the hallowed grounds of your home school. The exact same can be said for these young men at under 16 level, because you know, they didn't get a chance to play under 14s last year. It is certainly something to look forward to as Bishop tries a different sort of attack, sending in the overhead, the long ball up front, but you know, for the Paul Roos side, Boer van Renen in goals. He's certainly a goalkeeper to look out for, does the basics really, really well. He's got excellent vision, and he sums up a situation very quickly. He knows when to come out, when to stay back, and he's pretty vocal at the back for his side, and he certainly commands the defense. Having obviously watched the Paul Roos side last week, they're really dangerous in midfield and up front. It's the midfielders who are the creative spark. They're the ones that break the advantage line. They're the ones that get them on the front foot, and their strikers, Murray, I'm sure you're probably keeping your eye out on those strikers for their movement off the ball and how they link up with the midfielders.
That's right, you've got Arne Hendricks up front. I've heard a lot about him, and I'm looking forward to watching him. I see the first time Bishop's got the ball, they throw through the aerial, looking for that long ball for Jack Crawford. It was James Grieve who threw that long ball, and I don't know if that's going to be a tactic throughout this match to try and find the Lone Ranger up front.
Also, this first few minutes of the opening half of the game has certainly been a physical one. I think both sides want to try and establish some form of dominance. As Paul Roos, quickly taken, gets into the circle, has a snapshot. It goes agonizingly wide, and that is the danger that Paul Roos does possess with their links and their forwards, giving them that height. That with that height of the strikers, it allows the Lynx to get the ball in behind the defensive line and creates a little bit of space in and around the top D area. So Bishops got to keep their wits about them when Paul Roos does have the ball. But mistake in defense is Bishops for the breakaway. Has the shot as the keeper narrows the angle, comes off the post. And it's a mad scramble in the circle.
Well, I wonder if he's going to refer this, because it looked like that ball was going in and it hit the body of the Paul Roos defender, and it could be a cause for a penalty stroke. So Jack Crawford hits the post on a long ball through. And it's followed up by Bryn Parry. Just looked like it hit the Paul Roos defender in front of goal, which normally is a penalty stroke. Anyway.
Yeah, umpire certainly looked at his colleague and nothing came from him. So the short corner does stand. It's the first one of the game. So we'll see what this Bishops battery can do.
Robert at the top.
They go for the zigzag. Keeps it on his own. Beats two defenders and calmly, as you like, slots it into the back of the net. And somewhat against the run of play. The early stages belong to Paul Roos, but it's the home side. Bishops takes the 1-0 lead, and that's excellent work then from Bishops on that short corner.
So that's James Grieve. Excellent individual skill there. He turned, played under 13B Western Province, way back. But he turned beautifully and slotted that goal.
Now they certainly fooled me. It looked like it was going to be the zigzag, but James Grieve shows why he is highly rated. He's got good hands, quick hands, gets past two defenders, and then the presence of mind to have a little quick look up to see where the space is. And keeper left that far post a little bit too open, so calmly slots it away. And Bishops then, for the first time today, takes the lead. And it seems as though this Paul Roos side is a little shell-shocked, as Captain Isaac de Wet tries to just settle things a little bit after what has been a bit of a frenetic start.
I've been a bit surprised by the Paul Roos side not starting with a really high aggressive press. I really expected that from them. Both sides have got into a sort of three-quarter press, just feeding each other out in these early stages of the game.
Yeah, Mario, I'm sure the brains trust of the Paul Roos coaching side in Lungile Tsolekile and the hockey director at the school, Ashlyn Freddy, who's also the first team coach, the two of them standing on the sideline. So they've got their keen eyes on it, and we know that there's plenty of hockey knowledge in those brains. So in terms of adjusting and changing tactics, you know, they're pretty accustomed to that. And I'm sure that in this period that they've had with their boys, they've transferred some of that knowledge over to them.
I'm sure they're very fortunate to have a coach of Lungile Tsolekele's stature currently assisting the Stellenbosch first side, and also the Western Province Under-21 coach, and he also has 125 caps to his name for South Africa, so these boys can learn so much from him.
That's just the short version that you gave us. I mean, if you had to carry on going, we wouldn't mention anything on what's happening with the boys on the field. But you know, a lot of confidence in this Bishop side.
I just feel they've just come out of the left-hand channel. They've given it to Dylan de Groot, and there's just been no one on the right, wide areas for Bishops to sort of get the ball out of those danger areas and attack down the right. They look to go down the middle, lose the ball. Paul Roos comes straight back at them.
Danger signs now for Bishops. This Paul Roos side, well drilled inside the attacking 23, but well, so's the Bishops defense. So they managed to get the tackle in to slow things down a little bit and get the ball over the sideline, as Paul Roos then maintain possession in the corner. Nice little pass on the 45 to his teammate, but first touch not going his way, as once again, the second time we see Bishops try and get themselves out of the 23 with overhead through the heart. It's up to Hendricks. Hendricks, tall, strong young man who maintains possession. Ball comes on the outside. It's fired in across and comes off the foot of the Bishops defender, and we'll now get a chance to see this Paul Roos attacking penalty corner battery. It's their chance.
You just feel that Bishops have done all the hard work in defence, and then they threw the ball away twice down the middle, and as I said earlier, this Paul Roos side's going to come and it's going to burn you if you do that.
Good push, stops somewhat, goes away, but the ball is still loose. Keeper does make a great save. It's Zach Haynes.
Well, that's Zach Haynes who saves it, and Elias van Graan makes the save off the line. Amazing skill there. That ball was destined for the net.
It's fantastic to see the defenders backing up the keeper, especially on the defensive penalty corners. There's a breakaway now for Bishops down the right-hand side. Scrambling back up Paul Roos. They do manage to get some numbers in, and it's currently a 4-on-3 situation for Bishops. But the Paul Roos defenders through captain Isaac de Vet gets things away, finds Hendricks in the middle. Comes out onto the right-hand side, tries to get it to the right striker. Unfortunately, though, doesn't find him. So we take a look at the replay of that short corner. It's a good push. Stop not clean, and that is enough for the first wave to get there. Good awareness by Zach Haynes to come out and close down the angle. And the follow-up shot from Paul Roos is neatly dealt with by Elias van Graan to clear the ball off the line. So Bishops once again through Hendricks. It's Paul Roos on the attack. Hendricks swivels out, tries to get past defenders, but fortunately though for Paul Roos, nothing comes of it as Bishops launch the counter attack now. Neat little interplay, but it is Josh Smith of Paul Roos who puts in the intervention. And Maria had a chat with Lungile in the lead up to this game, and he says that that the minute figure at the back, Josh Smith, is a youngster you need to keep your eye out on. It's his first year of under 16 hockey. He is only in grade 9, and certainly highly spoken about. He's got a calm and composed head. He does the basics right, which is what you want from a defender.
Exactly. I just find that at the moment the Bishops guys have been struggling out of the back, being a bit impatient, throwing the ball away, and you need to really be composed at the back. And I've been impressed with Isaac de Vet as well at the back, who just is, they've got a calm head, a good platform out the back, and that's what you need. Some kind of structure, some kind of composure, and this is what Bishops need to get out of this press. See now Paul Roos are pushing up slightly higher, and they're going to try set up Bishops into a little pocket here and counter attack. Now it's already a little bit of a bobbly ball for De Groot. The only way out is the aerial delivery.
Turnover then for Paul Roos as they launch an attack down the left hand side. Tries to link up with the centre forward Hendricks, but just evades him a little bit. And it's hard for the ball to evade Hendricks because he's quite tall. He's quite a tall figure. He was playing in the first side last week, so a little bit of change in personnel then between the first side and the under 16 side. But it's nice to see that a player who's an under 16 getting a chance in the first side, getting a chance to play with sort of the big boys of the school and develop his skills a little bit quicker.
Quite right. That exposure is wonderful for him. And you know, he'll be one of those senior pros later on in grade 11 and grade 12.
Yeah, so you know, Lungile and Ashlyn certainly know what they're doing out there at Paul Roos. That's good to see, and I'll try and keep my eyes on all these young men as they develop through.
They're starting to stretch Bishops, which is worrying if I was coaching this team. Starting to get out of the back with a nice platform and getting their high outside wing backs high up the field.
There we can just see the confidence of Hendricks, having played in the first side last week, comes to play to turn out in the under 16A side. He gets himself on the ball, tries to drive down the baseline, get past the defenders. He got past one, as we see it, neat little skills through the defenders' legs, gets past two, gets the shot off from an acute angle, which is probably a good option as the ball gets fired in across the circle. Unfortunately for the man on the far post, it misses his stick and crashes into his foot, but the signs are certainly there that Paul Roos on the attack are pretty dangerous as this opening chukker then comes to an end. And it's a chukker that possession-wise and territory-wise has belonged to the maroon machine of Paul Roos. However, if you look at the scoreboard, it is the home side Bishops takes the slender 1-0 lead.
I think Bishops would be happy about taking a little break now. Paul Roos are really on the ascendancy towards the end of that chukker. And as I said, starting to stretch Bishops. And Bishops will have to regroup and just show a little bit more patience out the back, retain the ball in the midfield more, keep possession, and maybe work the ball up into the high areas and create some sustained pressure on Paul Roos, which they haven't done. They've mainly just got breakaways, and which they've been fortunate enough to capitalize on.
So that's it from Bishops for this opening quarter. We'll be back in a few moments to bring you the second half of this, or at least the second chukker of this under 16A game.
So we're about to start the second chukker. Jack Crawford from Bishops is doing the pushback. Goes to Devon Marshall. He tries the aerial ball again. Bishops play infringes by going within 5 meters of the Paul Roos defender. Bishops starting to press a bit.
So then the second chukker of this game is underway. The conditions have certainly changed quite rapidly with the clouds coming in over the mountain and the sun starting to set.
Here's Hendricks again. Unfortunately, just goes over the byline. He's really dangerous from those wide areas. He's willing to take on players, get to that byline. Now he just needs to connect with one of his other strikers. Here he goes again.
Tries to throw the ball forward and it's a little bit too hot. But the ball does take a little bit of deflection off the Bishop stick. Paul Roos then remains in possession in a dangerous area as they try to get through on the right hand side.
There's Bryn Parry on the ball now. He loses it. Robert Feldman makes a lovely little tackle there. It's a beautiful little skill down the left touch line here.
Excellent work back for Paul Roos, and that's what you want to see. Turning the ball over high up on the field and defenders tracking back, coming in from that blind side with a little shave tackle just to dislodge the ball from the opposition stick and winning possession back for the side.
Some neat play there by Robenheimer, but his pass goes astray, and now it's Paul Roos with a 16. Bishop's at least trying to play up in there, in their attacking third. Setting up a press now. Jack Crawford putting a lot of pressure on the defender, and now it goes into touch, and Bishops gets possession. Parry on the ball.
Yeah, I wonder how Paul Roos is adjusting to this game being played in chukkers. Last week, the match they played against Paul Jim was played in two halves, as we now see them come through the right-hand side as a circle penetration looks to the B spot. But the centre back, Casper of Bishops, he is certainly the tall, lanky figure in the middle. He's barking instructions to the rest of them. He mops things up.
He's had a good game so far. He's really commanded the back four.
Tries to go on the one-on-one. Does that man from Paul Roos. This is Smith on the ball. Smith showing his hands, trying to get around the outside. Does the good thing of just finding the foot, forcing their little turnover, or just ensuring that his side remains in position. Here's a quick little double blast. The referee or umpire wants him to take it on the correct spot. He decides that he's going to go back to Captain De Vet. Switches the play out onto the left-hand side, and the left half in position high up on the field. Paul Roos certainly does that very, very well. When they're in a certain channel, they try and move the ball pretty quickly, get it into another channel and push the outside halves up, overloading the midfield, and getting that possession dominance or the numbers dominance as they find space on the left. Ball comes in, route one, Hendricks on the ball, goes for the deflection, does find the foot of the Bishops defenders. So Ion Hendricks, he is the go-to for this Paul Roos side. We see him try and get the quick shot away. The defenders stick in the way, but illegally so, says the umpire. It's another short corner for Paul Roos. It's a good push, goes to the near castle. Drag flick comes in, and it slams into the back of the net. Paul Roos are back in it. They get themselves level. And it's 1-1 here at Bishops in this, the second game of the day. Fortunately for keeper Zach Haynes, a little bit too much speed on that one. And it's the back of the net that rattles as Paul Roos bring themselves back into this one.
Good disguise at the top of the circle, and a great finish. You'd probably think that Zach would be pretty upset with that because it's at a height where he could have parried that off. But as I said, that disguise, change of pace, it was so good. You will see it again.
So, some fire behind that ball from Hendricks as it comes in. It's a solid stop, and we just see that. You can just see the basics have been drilled into that young man of getting his body into the right position for the drag flick. And there's plenty of power behind that one. Saw it last week as well. It's the goal scoring machine for them off the top of the D. He's come good once again for his side in the second chucker. So it's once again Bishops in possession as they once again try the overhead. Dangerously so this time, says the umpire on the far side. It's Paul Roos that'll come away with it. It is the second game then of the afternoon filled with hockey action here at Bishops. It's Bishops against Paul Roos. It's all the age groups. All of them will be playing right here on SuperSport Schools on the YouTube page, as well as on the DSTV Now app, channel 247. It's where you'll find all the hockey action this afternoon. So to those of you who are watching, spread the word. Let all your family and friends know they can get their hockey fix right here. And it's just the start of what is going to be an exciting weekend of sport, thanks to SuperSport Schools. Plenty of pressure now on this Bishops defense as that goal for Paul Roos has given them a lot of confidence. It's now time for Paul Roos to take the ascendancy. Once again, Casper for this Bishops defense. He gets his stick in the way, and
you just see this Paul Roos side, his confidence with the way they're carrying the ball, the way they're passing. They're starting to make connections, starting to find each other with good ball pace. And Bishops are starting to scramble a bit in defence.
Yeah, whatever the coaching staff of Paul Roos has said to their players in that brief little interval between the first and second chukker, it certainly worked. As, this Paul Roos side has certainly come out with a lot more confidence, as looks like it's Paul Roos on the ball. You know that, Murray? At this under-16 side, there's a young man by the name of Paul Roos.
I do know that. I believe he's family of the original Paul Roos. That's a good opportunity for Bishops now. Little snap hit needed.
Yeah, who would have thought that in the year 2021 that there'll be a Paul Roos on the hockey field for the under-16A side. That'll be, or that is related to the original Paul Roos.
That's right.
So back to the action. If you're just joining us, it's the Bishops under-16A side taking on Paul Roos. It's all leveled up at 1 apiece. It was Bishops who took the early lead within the first few minutes of the game through excellent work on a short corner.
Paul Roos setting up little pockets on the right and left, and Bishops are falling into that. And they're getting trapped in the midfield, and the ball's just coming back at them.
Now this Paul Roos side has certainly been pouncing on anything loose from Bishops and any sort of little mistakes that they're making. Paul Roos is trying, or at least they're ensuring that Bishops pays for it. They haven't been paying for it on the score sheet, or at least on the scoreboard, but they have been in the possession and the territory stages. It seems as though Bishops have been having to rely on a counter-attack game plan, finding themselves deep in their half on many occasions, like we just see here, as they turn possession over and try to get themselves ahead. As once again, Paul Roos, it seems as though their game plan is just to find Hendricks in the middle of the field. He's hanging up high. He's that little drop centre forward, linking up with him from the back and the links, and he's got the ball. It's a case of him using what he has in those hands of his, try and get his side into the circle. So we just have a look here on the right hand side. Josh Smith, he's found himself in acres of space, and De Wet finds him as the ball comes in, and unfortunately that little touch just coming off the top of the stick, and dangerously so, says the umpire. But it's nice to see that an outside half is willing to creep up and finding themselves in the attacking area. Neat ball from De Wet, spotting the overlap from the right half, Smith. Plenty of pace on that pass, and fortunately though the ball doesn't stick, as referee, or at least the umpire, calls time for, seems to be an off the ball little unintentional clash. As we know, anything related to a head injury is, the player will be brought off immediately to have it assessed, to ensure that he is safe. There's nothing untoward about that. So play does continue. As we've seen for the majority of this, the opening half in the two chukkers that have gone, that Bishops have had to defend for most of the time after taking that early 1-0 lead. But in the second chukker, Paul Roos has certainly come out firing. They've taken the game to Bishops. Nice little layoff for Siebrits. Gets the shot in. It's a good save from Heinz. And the danger's not gone yet as Hendricks gets the ball on the P-spot. Now the shot comes in. Hits the body of the defender. The umpire takes his time, making sure first that Paul Roos doesn't get any sort of advantage. And another short corner opportunity then for Paul Roos. We saw it in the previous one, Murray, where they brought themselves back into the game. Can we see it happen again?
They have. They've done brilliantly in this half. And the ominous signs for Bishops now coming into the third chukker. I thought Zach Haynes did well with the first pass, first shot at goal. He was unsighted and he made a great save.
Another good set piece, but this time Haynes is up to it, gets the ball away, and Elias van Graan once again backing up his keeper, this time getting the rebound away and averting the danger from this Paul Roos side, as the second stick away in the second chukker. The drag flick coming in from Matt
Bishops living dangerously there with the last 7 seconds, but they survive.
Well, that's the halftime hooter that has gone. The final action of the game is a drag flick from Matthew Raymer that is easily dealt with by Bishop's goalkeeper Zach Haynes. And, as the players make their way off the field, the clouds are starting to come in over the Bishop's Astro. And it's one apiece between the Bishop's under 16A side and the Paul Roos guys all the way from Stellenbosch. So stay tuned. We'll be back to bring you an exciting second half.
This is where it all started for me, in Hammersdale, a village just outside Devon. Grew up in a very traditional family. A few times in a while we have to go, and do up the garden in the morning. I wouldn't think much of sports. Happened to play netball by chance. I went to go and watch my neighborhood friends at training, sitting on the side, just watching and supporting. There were 13 of them on the netball courts. They needed one player to fill in. I can remember one of them saying to the coach, ask her to fill in. From there, I had to borrow the shoes. The shoes were even bigger than my feet. I think I can remember that I wasn't even worried about the size of the shoes, but more of what I was going to do on courts. Pulled through that day. From there, it rolled on to being called to a national side.
Bongium Zomi gets it into the shooter's hands.
Having to play overseas, I think all that journey actually created all of that. Now that I look forward into the future, I want to see more girls playing the sports. We need to find a way where we give them exposure. There's exciting stuff coming along. I think it's going to create a whole lot more vibe, and I have to be part of that, because believe me, one day the shoes will fit and the lights will find you.
Arguably one of the most deadly players on court right now.
So we're back for the second half of action between the home side, Bishops under 16A, and the visitors all the way from Stellenbosch, the Maroon Machine as they call themselves. It's Paul Roos under 16A. The umpire blows his whistle to get the second half underway. The opening stages of the first half, the first chukker, or at least for much of that opening half, it was Paul Roos who dominated the territory, dominated the possession, but they found themselves trailing by a goal to nil. Thanks to an early Bishops goal. They did, however, bring themselves back into it early in the second chukker. And that's how it remained as the half-time whistle went. So it remains all even at the start of the second half. And Murray, how do you feel that first half went? Who would be the happier of the sides?
Definitely Paul Roos. I think as a coach, as a Bishops coach, I'd have been very happy with that 1-0 lead, and there was a bit of a sucker punch. But after that, Paul Roos have found their feet, and it looked really, really bad for Bishops going towards the end of the second chukker. Paul Roos possibly could have got a second or even a third goal there. But the score's still 1-0, and Bishops are still in it. All they need to do is control the ball more. When they win the ball, be more composed on it. But at the moment, it's all Paul Roos.
Yeah, as we've seen time and time again, the Paul Roos side, a well-oiled machine. The linking play is up there with the best of them. The movement off the ball is certainly something to look at as they once again penetrate down the right-hand side, goes to the baseline, stitches it back to Hendricks. And it's a nice little neat work from the striker, Aon Hendricks, to keep that ball under control. A little hatch pass from the teammate down that right-hand baseline, and he controlled it first, and it was a quick little bunt. And the words weren't even cold yet, Murray, and it's 2-1 to Paul Roos.
Yeah, that was a well-worked goal. When you see the replay, they've worked the baseline so well from left and right today.
Yeah, certainly after that opening chukker, we see it once again. Neat work down the baseline, eyes up. Hendricks is in front of the goalkeeper. A little bit of a bobble off that first touch of his, but it was under control. No defenders near him, despite the protest from Zach Haynes in the Bishops goal.
Bishops felt that the ball had been lifted, but in those situations, the defender's got to get brave and get into that area and make it dangerous, and I think that's a great goal.
Yeah, it's a nice striker's goal. It's nice to see the composure. He could have been a little bit frantic with the ball being that high, but he certainly maintained his composure, and it's nice to see that he was able to get the ball in the back of the net, which would certainly boost his confidence. But after that opening chukker where Paul Roos found themselves a goal down, they recouped at that initial mini break, and have certainly, when the second chukker started, they came out and they looked a different team. It's almost as if they needed those opening 15 minutes just to loosen their legs after the drive from Stellenbosch. It can be a bit long. But
exactly.
Now that they've going, the machine starting to work, they're entering through the right-hand side. The shot comes in and ricochets off the defender's foot. It seems like Casper this time got himself in the way, got his body on the line, and another attacking chance for Paul Roos.
So Bishops lose the ball in the middle of the field. Robenheimer just seemed to be no one helping him. Seemed to be isolated in the midfield. Paul Roos pounced on that, and they're back 40 meters up the field with a short corner.
This Paul Roos link line certainly work hard for each other. When they do have the ball in possession, it's the strikers that work hard for the links, as Hendricks gets the ball out. It's a good push, good stop. Drag flick comes in from Matthew Raymer, who was actually looking for the far post deflection. They did try the variation on that occasion. One does feel that if you have scored one off the top of the D, certainly back yourself to score again.
Quite right.
Be that as it may, it's Paul Roos who cough it up this time though, as Bishops now launch a counter attack, but it's a 3v2 in favor of the defense. Good composure shown though from the Bishop striker to just slow things down, maintain position, allow his support players to come in, as Bjorn van Reenen does the cleaning up for Paul Roos. It's nice to see a keeper identifying where the danger is and comfortable enough to get off his line and just help the defenders out, because certainly they can't see things from the back of their heads. But as we're singing his praises, it's a $1 million ball through the heart of the Paul Roos defense, and it's a slight touch, a typical striker's goal, shall you say, Murray?
Great little striker's goal. Jack Crawford with a little touch there. Ball fired into the penalty spot, and that's Robenheimer. Robenheimer gets his head up. He identifies that. Hits it off the wrong foot. A little tip in there from Crawford. Beresford was there on the far post as well, so it's 2-2. And this goal flatters Bishops, but they're still in it. That's a crucial chucker. That's the third chucker.
It's fantastic to see, at this level, that the players are filling those critical areas. Strikers are getting themselves on the far post. They're getting themselves on the P spot, and we know that when the ball does come in and it does enter the circle, that any sort of touch from a teammate, get the ball past the goalkeeper. If you can get it past him, more than likely it's going to go into the back of the net. And on this occasion for Bishops, it does pay off. So they now draw themselves level. But as we've seen time and time again, it hasn't phased the Paul Roos side, who launched the attack this time down the left. Ball goes across for them. Mad scramble, but Zach Haynes is there. He ensures that gets the ball onto the foot of a Paul Roos attacker.
Zach Haynes does well again. Smothers that ball and then gets the foot and wins the free hit. We're just saying how Van Renen, the goalkeeper, was so good and how he was commanding that circle and kicking the ball out. But you could just see he was wanting to get off his line with that last goal. He wanted to command that D, which is good, but that let in the players that were just wide of him and behind him.
Yeah, sometimes when you do see a keeper trying to get off his line a lot, it does leave them susceptible to those little deflections and little touches. So perhaps the Bishops coaching staff has identified that and gotten their players to smash the ball in, try and get those tip-ins. So it's paid off once. Just got to keep our eyes out on the remainder of this, the third chucker, which we've seen over the past season, 2 seasons ago, that this is the crucial chucker. If you can get yourself a few goals in this one, this is certainly where you can either gain momentum or lose momentum in the game. And certainly at this point in time, neither side's got the momentum, because it's to and fro, it's up and down, it's high-paced, and fantastic to see this level of hockey being played by these young men.
Certainly is, and Bishops are looking to play on the counter-attack. They've got Beresford up wide, who's fast. They've got Jack Crawford up. We haven't seen a lot of Jagger on the left wing. He's got good individual skills, but we haven't seen much of him in the attacking environment.
So then as the clock ticks away, we're inside the final 5 minutes of this, the under-16A game between the home side Bishops and the men from Stellenbosch Paul Roos. It's been non-stop action in this game, as once again see Bishops try and get through the right-hand side, and it's again Bjorn van Renen coming off his line to pick up the loose ball. On this occasion it goes his way, so the action then certainly is hotting up here on this what has become a fairly chilly afternoon in Cape Town, with the under-14 sides doing duty just before this. The sun was out, nice pleasant conditions for them, but now that the cloud cover has come in, the sun is being hidden by the clouds. The chill factor certainly taken its toll now, but the action on the field remains fiery and remains hot, and it's the second game that we're bringing to you here on Super Sport Schools. Can catch the game, and do spread the word that you can catch the game on our YouTube page. It's also available on the Super Sport Schools app, as well as DSTV Now, channel 247, as we see Bishops riding a little bit of momentum and getting themselves in the circle to find the foot of Paul Roos. Get themselves another short corner. We saw them score a short corner goal earlier on in the game. So
the umpires have come together now. Devin Marshall received the ball and forced the penalty corner. Found the foot. And the other umpire must have seen something else.
Yeah, it's not often that you see that after a decision is made, that umpires come together and a decision is reversed. So that is a bit of a rarity, but the confidence remains high in Bishops as they neat little interplay inside outside, gets them into the circle, and the snapshot fortunately comes off the edge of the stick and goes wide. So Paul Roos on the attack, finds space on the inside, plenty of space for him. Links up with the right link, who cuts across, has the back stick and gets the ball into the back of the net, past the keeper's sticks, or at least past the club side. Zach Haynes on this occasion is beaten, but man oh man, was that a neat flowing move.
Brilliant move that. Fantastic passing, fantastic interplay. And they'll really hurt you. They transfer the ball over 50 meters at pace. And Bishop's found wanting there in defense.
Yeah, we've seen Paul Roos certainly showing a lot of what they can do on attack, and this time it's their counter attack that gets them the goal. It's the second time that they lead in this game. They held a 2-1 lead earlier on. Now finds themselves 3-2 to the good. This has certainly been a frenetic game. It's been non-stop action. It's been attacking from both sets of teams. Certainly an excellent picture for the game, especially at under 16 level. If this is the level of hockey we're seeing at this young age, you can only imagine what it's going to be like when they hit first team and when they progress from there through the age group ranks. Neat ball in to the center of the field and plenty of space in behind the Bishops defenders. Ball went into the right striker, who cut infield, smashes it on the back stick. It's nice to see that these players are equally adept at scoring the back stick as they are on the front stick.
Lovely finish that. And it's been Paul Roos now that have been putting a lot of pressure on the Bishops goal line now. Ball's just saved off the line.
So we're into the final minute of the third chukker. It's been non-stop action in this game. It's Paul Roos now with their tails up a little bit after regaining the lead that they worked so hard to get. But as we see time and time again, as soon as Bishops turn over the ball, they're happy to play the counter attack. Try and get themselves back into this one.
They'll be kicking themselves. They did all the hard work to get to up, and then to concede that goal with 2 minutes to go. Really disappointing for them. But now you can smell, Paul Roos can smell blood in the water.
So there we have it. The siren goes off for the end of the third chukker. It's been an exciting half. At least it's been an exciting quarter. And it's the men from Stellenbosch in the maroon jerseys that take the slender 3-2 lead as we head into the final chukker. Trust me, you do not want to go anywhere. The final 12.5 minutes of the game certainly going to be exciting. We'll be back shortly. if you haven't been with us for the opening 3 quarters of this game between the Bishops under 16A side and the Port Roos under 16A side, you'd be kicking yourself because we've seen some high-class hockey action. We've seen plenty of goals being scored, in fact 5 of them, as we enter the final chukker of this match. It is the men from Stellenbosch, Port Roos, who take a slender 3-2 lead into the final 12.5 minutes of this game. It's a game that Port Roos thus far have dominated in possession. They got that slender lead, but doesn't mean that Bishop's out of it. Their counter-attack game has been on form today. In fact, they held the early lead before coughing it up and going, at least finding themselves 2-1 behind. They drew themselves level pretty quickly to 2-2. Then in the final 2 minutes of the third chukker, it was Port Roos got themselves back ahead. So anything can happen in this, the final quarter of this game between the under 16A sides. As we see once again, this Port Roos outfit sleek on the attack, linking up with each other. The backstick comes in, and this time though gets underneath it. Well, that's what I think, at least. It came off the defender, so good work from the Bishops defense to scramble their way back, and that cover defense nullifying the Port Roos attack.
He sets himself up on the reverse stick, but he's just too wide. Maybe just to keep possession, may get a corner would have been probably the better option, but he goes for it. That's what youth can do.
Yeah, you back yourself anyway. I'm sure, Mari, as a striker, you would probably back yourself as well. Get in the circle. You want to score the goal, not the other guy.
I didn't hit back shots so well.
So back to the action. It's Port Roos, this time down the right-hand side. And as we've seen time and time again, they're equally adept to run the ball down the baseline on the right or left. They, I guess when you've got a coach like Lungile Tsolekile, he's going to make sure that you can attack and launch your attacks on either side of the field.
So the more frantic it gets for Bishops to try to get the equalizer, the game's going to open up for Port Roos. And you can really see that Bishops are trying to push the envelope a bit, and they're starting to make little mistakes. They've made those unforced errors throughout the game. Just thrown away possession when they've won possession, when they've worked hard. Now they throw another overhead. It's a bit of a hit and hope again.
Yeah, from what we saw last week with this under 16 side of Port Roos, they're definitely a second half team, which is not something that you'd want to think about, or at least, but they do turn things up a little bit. They increase the intensity in the second half, so we've certainly seen that in the third chukker where they raise the game a little bit, and pretty sure we'll see now in this final.
There's some tired bodies out there in blue. They've been chasing a lot today. They haven't had much possession, so they're very tired in these last 10 minutes or so. So it's hard work for them, but they're still in with a sniff.
Oh, it's getting a bit hectic out there right now with the body tackles coming in, being, a little pushing and shoving going on. And said Mario, that's usually a sign that the legs are getting tired when you're trying to lean on the opponent to keep yourself upright.
You see James Grieve giving the ball into the midfield there. Devon Marshall tries to thread it through to Parry. But there are some tired boys just not making those lead runs.
Yeah, those little off-the-ball movements from Bishops is no longer there in this final quarter thus far.
You could just count the men on the field who are standing still at the moment. That's a sure sign.
I'm sure it's something that the Port Roos side will identify as the tired legs on the Bishop side of the field, and they're going to look to exploit that. And probably the perfect way to exploit that is to hang back a little bit, allow them to come to you, you launch them, and you hit them with a counter attack when you do turn the ball over. But firstly, you got to get the ball.
That's good if they just converted everything to a series of free hits now. Keep possession, get the foot, win something. And here we go with the counter-attack.
Hendricks on the ball, looking to link up with the strike on the right-hand side. However, The Bishop's defender gets a stick in the way, and it's Hendricks who's got to do it all on his own, and he's doing just that. That long leg, stretching his team all the way into the circle. But what a tackle.
Veltman
Coming in from Veltman. The diminutive figure of Veltman, shall I say, showing that the taller Hendricks, doesn't matter how fast you run with the ball, it's all about me getting my stick in the way, and I'm going to win it.
Good work from Veltman. He likes to run down that left-hand side.
Hendricks trying his best to get himself as much distance between the ball and the defender, using his left arm reach stretched out, putting as much distance between the defender and the ball as he can. But what he didn't anticipate was the cover defender, Veltman, coming in, a diminutive little left half, getting his stick in the way and dispossessing the lanky forward. That's excellent to see from the Bishop's defenders, that they're still willing to work hard. They're still willing to grind it out and get their side up the field, with Elias van Graan, who spots some space in the middle. Neat little interplay, 1-2, gets into the circle, shot comes in, and Pure van Reenen alert to it again, coming off his line, snuffing out that attack.
They've got to realize now that 6 minutes is a long time, and that they should just keep this possession now and grind out something, win something. That's going to be crucial to them. Little corner now. Bishops could make it an equalizer.
We certainly see Paul Roos opting to hang back a little bit, allow Bishops, when they do have the ball, to come to them. And when they do dispossess Bishops like they do there, they look for that man on the ball now, Hendricks, and they want him to stretch his long legs. Space on the right-hand side, he goes on the left. Unfortunately, though, he doesn't manage to link up with a fellow striker, but the signs are certainly there. Paul Roos are going to hang back. They're going to try and play this final quarter on the counter-attack, and when they do turn that ball over, find Hendricks on top of the circle.
Quite right. Bishops just need to string a couple of passes together now.
Plenty of space for Van Graan on the right-hand side, who searches for the 45-degree ball inside. A very dangerous ball that is, and fortunately for Paul Roos, none of the Bishop strikers can get onto the end of it.
Again, playing a speculative ball into that area rather than carrying it into that last third, maybe winning something. We're just giving possession away again.
So then 5 minutes to go in this game. It's the second game of the day out here at Bishops. It's the Bishops under 16A side playing host to the Paul Roos under 16A side. We've seen the under 14As do duty just before this. There's 2 more games to go after this one, where the second teams will go head to head immediately after this, and then following that game, it's the big one. It's the first team boys of Bishops and the first team boys of Paul Roos will take to the field for all the bragging rights. As we all know, that 3 games prior to the first team game, that does carry a little bit of weight, but not as much as the first teams.
Everyone asks about the first team game, and that's the bragging rights.
Yeah, so you can win all the games in the lead up to the first team game, but if your side loses, I guarantee you the opposition side will remind you about it for the rest of the year.
It's not fair.
So Hendricks again, the talisman for Paul Roos up front, gets the ball aerial, drives down the baseline. Dangerous ball across, says the umpire. Certainly is. This time though, ball in the air, the Bishops defenders getting themselves and creating that danger.
Much better. So, 3.5 minutes left. And that could be a long corner.
Yeah, massive ball from the Bishops defenders, a hit and hope.
Looking for Crawford up front. There's Devin Marshall on the ball now. He gives the ball away, unfortunately.
See, once again, Paul Roos turn the ball over, and the first man they look for is Hendricks. They just want him to grab the ball, arc with it, stretch the legs, and it's a nice little through ball onto the right-hand side. It's a one-on-one situation. Ooh, neat little hands, inside, outside. But Veltman stands up to it and manages to get the ball onto his opponent's foot and turns the ball over for Bishops. This final 3 minutes of the game is definitely going to start picking up on the pace and on the intensity as both sides try and get themselves onto the scoreboard again. Paul Roos will look to get themselves a 2-goal cushion. It's going to take a single goal for Bishops to get themselves level. Money, in a situation like this with 2.5 minutes to go, you've got the 1-0 lead. Do you go hammer and tongs to try and get a second one, or do you try and slow things down a little bit and eat
slow
time?
things down at this stage. Obviously, they want to get the 4th goal and put it to bed, but at this stage of the coach, I'd be looking to put as many passes together, set up a good platform, go play in their half and press. Keep the ball in the sidelines. They can't score on the sideline.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the message is going to get sent to one of these Paul Roos boys to get themselves on the ball and take a canter into the corner.
The
youngsters
youngsters
chill
are
in the corner.
The youngsters are full of so much energy. They want to score goals. They're not really thinking about phases of the game at this stage.
Once again, a little bit of space on the outside for Van Graan. The Paul Roos defender just encroaching on the 5-yard space. We do know that when the overhead does come, it's first person there has the right of way, and he's got to be given the 5-yard space to bring the ball under control, not necessarily just touch it, but he needs to bring it under control. And once he has done that, then as a defender you can make the move towards him as Bishops try and work their way into the circle. They do that, it's loose on the P-spot. The backstick shot goes wide.
Well, that was that chance. With 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, that was the chance, and he had a lot of time. If you look at it now, he had more time than he thought he had. He could have actually controlled it, turned it, and put it on the forehand in the corner.
A little bit of communication perhaps from a fellow teammate, just letting him know either you've got more time or keep us coming. I am here, just to inform him that there is a little bit more to do in the circle than just try and get the snapshot off. As we enter the final 30 seconds of this game, Bishops in this final few minutes have certainly looked to do exactly that, get the ball and smash it forward. Hope to pin Paul Roos inside their 23 as we see the goalkeeper Bjorn van Rijn just taking a slow stroll towards the ball, eating up as much time as he can, picking it up, gently tossing it to the defenders, taking about 10 seconds to do that. So dangerous ball for Paul Roos across the face of the D, and fortunately for him the Bishop striker couldn't maintain possession. And that is the ball game, folks. The siren goes. An excellent game of hockey comes to an end here at the Woodlands Astro. It is the under-16A boys of Paul Roos claims the match 3-2 over Bishops under-16A. So in the bigger scheme of things, in the 4 matches planned for the day here between the two schools, it's the men from Stellenbosch that holds all the aces at the moment. They 2-0 to the good. The under-14A is doing the business, and now the under-16A is doing it. Do not go anywhere though. Up next is the second teams. It's the penultimate game before the big one. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Sometimes when I come home, I wonder what I would say to my younger self. Maybe I would say, ungenayonga yona kid inhle okanye ibhadlileyo. Awuyanga kwisikolo esikhulu. Ndakubona intwana ezimiseleyo. Bukhanya, funeka uzazi apho usuka khona, and uzazi apho ufuna ubheka khona. Ayazi akululanga xa kufuneka uye emabaleni. Kodwa qina, qhubeka ufunda, qhubeka udlala, qhubeka ukholelwa. Ngenye imini ukukhanya kuzokufumana.